first of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity to meet you. And I've been many times in Azerbaijan.
Oh, really?
Many times. I followed even the many elections.
And when was the last time?
The last time was a year and a half ago, but I came in more than 10 times. And it's a very interesting country.
Thank you.
And I have to admit that you made some very good progresses from some point of view. I am a Middle East correspondent in Asia from Il Sole 24 Ore, that is the biggest financial political newspaper in Italy.
I know that.
It's well known. So if you don't mind, during the interview, I will shift also on the relations between the strong relation between Italy and your country.
Yes, with pleasure.
And about the process of diversification of the economy. That is a very interesting subject that is not reported enough or as it deserves by the international media.
I agree with you. Yes, with pleasure. I will comment on that.
I would start.
Yes,
and
please go
my
ahead.
first question is regarding the Nagorno-Karabakh issues. Yesterday you had a very interesting meeting. If I'm not wrong, it was a face-to-face with the Prime Minister,
Exactly.
Jean-Michel.
Yes.
So, Mr. President, can you tell me how was the meeting, and is there something really new we should know?
Well, first of all, I had a meeting with President of European Council, Charles Michel. For 1 hour, we discussed a broad range of issues, and of course, concentrated mainly on the post-conflict situation which is now emerged after the war of the last year. And of course, the efforts of European Commission are aimed at facilitating the normalization process between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and we highly value the efforts of the Commission and President Michel in particular. He visited Azerbaijan and Armenia this summer, and we are in permanent contact after his visit, so he's aware about the details of the situation, and of course we highly value his personal involvement. Later in the evening we had a trilateral meeting, and it lasted more than 4 hours and was, I think, very productive. So both sides clarified their positions once again, mainly about the new realities which emerged after the Second Karabakh War, how to adjust to these realities, how to learn to live as neighbors. And of course, we discussed the practical elements of the post-war situation, particularly the opening of communications. This is an important part of the trilateral statement which was signed by President of Russia, Prime Minister of Armenia, and myself last November. But the implementation of this important part of the statement is going very slow. So yesterday, the important decisions were made about the immediate activity by Armenia in order to start practical implementation of the railroad project. As far as we're concerned, we already started, and the railroad from liberated territories to Armenian border must be ready by the end of 2023. And we, of course, hope that by that time, Armenia will complete their part of the homework. And of course, we raised other issues with respect to demining, and President Michel expressed his willingness to help Azerbaijan to cope with this situation, because after the war ended, we had almost 200 people killed or seriously injured because of the landmines. Also, we discussed humanitarian issues and many others. So it was really a very productive discussion, and I'm very satisfied.
I just improvised a question because you suggested me. European Union just announced a package of almost $2 billion to Armenia, close to $2 billion to Ukraine. but only, if I'm not wrong, 140 million euros to Azerbaijan.
Yes.
I mean, it's a very big difference. And why? What do you think is at the basis of this decision?
Well, it's difficult to say why, because in order to answer this question, I must have enough facts. I can only have my opinion about that. And you're absolutely right. This is something which is a matter which surprised many observers, and of course was a very unpleasant surprise for Azerbaijani population. Just want to clarify that the package to Armenia announced by European Commission is $2.6 billion. And to Azerbaijan, as you mentioned, 140. So the difference is almost 20 times. Is it fair? No. Is it based on the real demands of both countries? Of course, no. Even if we put aside the terrible devastation which Armenia created and did on the liberated territories, just if you take the number of people who live in both countries, you will see its difference is 5 times, 10 million against 2 in Armenia. Plus, during the years of occupation, the territory equal to the territory of Lebanon was totally destroyed, demolished. And now foreigners and journalists and visitors visit those areas and see with their own eyes the level of demolition. Plus, according to our estimations, there are close to 1 million mines planted, and the demining is very costly and takes a lot of time. In Armenia, nothing is destroyed. This country was not occupied. It was a country which occupied, and the economy of Armenia physically cannot absorb this huge package. So it's very surprising. And after it was announced, starting from this summer when President Michel visited Azerbaijan, we permanently discussed this issue, and we want a single standard approach. We want justice, and of course, we ask for the same terms and conditions and for the same amount to Azerbaijan.
Yes, President, you are definitely right, because demining is a very sensitive and important and strategical activity. If you really want to let people Azeri come back to the occupied, liberated territories to live, to settle, you have to guarantee the safety of these places. And so I was surprised. But were you not surprised that such a delicate issues of demining a war area has not pushed the European Union to act earlier?
I don't know. I raised many times these issues, and also yesterday during the meeting with President Michel, I even suggested European Commission to look at the opportunity to finance from their funds demining in Azerbaijan. I said, okay, don't give the money to us. Provide financial support to European companies which are involved in demining, and let them come to Azerbaijan and to start this work, because physically it's not possible for Azerbaijan to do it in a short period of time. Plus, it is very costly. And you're absolutely right. Without demining, we cannot bring people back. They've been waiting for that for almost 30 years. Now the huge reconstruction started. But the areas which are being under reconstruction are demined, but the rest part is not. So people who will go back, they will face serious problems and threat to their lives. So I hope that after these communications, there'll be more clarity about that. But of course, our needs are not limited only by demining. Everything is destroyed. There is no cities, no villages, nothing. It is destroyed territory. And our position is that the level of support, whether it's financial donations or loans to Armenia and to Azerbaijan must be at the same level.
But don't you think that this is my suggestion, that European Union is more prudent because of some reports, according to some reports, there are still some problems of human rights or problem of press freedom in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan has improved by far since it started. Everybody knows that this process takes time, but maybe this cannot be something that is slowing this
No,
kind
I
of
don't
activity.
think so. First of all, because now there are more understanding in European institutions that this perception about problems with human rights and media freedom are exaggerated. Because in Azerbaijan, there is no restrictions on media. We have free internet, no censorship, and we have now more than 80% of Azerbaijani population are internet users. And you cannot restrict media and have free internet. The same with human rights issues. All the human rights are protected, and Azerbaijan is not facing the criticism it faced many years ago, because first, we managed to persuade our European partners that their information mainly was based on wrong scenario, and second, we implemented a large scale of political and economic reforms. And second, if you look to the substance, you will see that in Armenia, the human rights and political freedoms are brutally violated. Just as an example, many representatives of political parties are in prison. There are criminal cases against leaders of main political parties. There is a huge public discontent with respect to repressions in Armenia. And these are all facts which are absolutely clear, but Armenia has a kind of a permanent umbrella. No matter what happens there, it is considered to be a democracy. So it's a kind of a double standards again.
Suggested, sorry, another question, because I can be very direct, but
yes, sure.
In a few months, you have retaken the districts, the districts that have been taken by Armenian forces during the First War. And in 15 years, almost 15 years of negotiations, you didn't receive that result. So my question is, the Minsk group seemed before to be oriented, not officially, toward a status quo, just to keep an armed peace. And this is useful maybe even for Russia, that can play a role until things are in this way. So what is your opinion about the role of Minsk group? Because you yourself, but other Azeri authorities have been rather skeptical, if not disappointed, toward this group.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say that the Minsk group was obliged to resolve the conflict by a mandate from OSCE since 1992. So they were in function for 28 years until last November, when we, in 44 days, liberated the territories. My opinion about the Minsk group activity does not differ from the opinion of the Azerbaijani people. It's a failure. We must tell the truth. We should not pretend to be politically correct when it's clear like daylight. If the Minsk group co-chairs, which are the leading countries of the world, 3 out of 5 permanent members of Security Council, 3 nuclear powers, the most powerful countries of the world, could not or did not want to put an end to Armenian occupation, that means that the activity was failure. They worked for 28 years. Can you imagine?
I was just sorry for interrupting you. Just start from the Madrid principles, but okay, yes, it's a longer time for the Minsk.
Yeah, Madrid principles was more than 10 years ago, but they started in '92, and the 3 leading countries which I mentioned became the co-chairs several years later. But anyway, it's more than 20 years, but without zero result. And why? Probably because, as you said, the status quo was acceptable to them. Though I can tell you that at certain stages, even on the level of the heads of states, of the co-chairs of the Minsk group, there have been positive statements that status quo is unacceptable and must be changed. And we were very encouraged by that. But unfortunately, there were no actions. And it was very simple. And I raised this issue many times. To persuade Armenia or to force Armenia to leave the territories of Azerbaijan and to comply with United Nations Security Council resolutions demanding that, the only way to do it was to impose sanctions on Armenia. We know that in certain cases these sanctions are being imposed on other countries, but not on Armenia. Again, double standards, again, unjust approach. And Azerbaijani people were tired of these permanent visits of this Minsk group troika. Several times a year they were coming and going without any result. And actually their activity was totally paralyzed after 2019 when Armenian Prime Minister declared that Karabakh is Armenia. And that meant that it's end of negotiations. Because if Armenia says that Karabakh is Armenia, what to negotiate about? Another thing is that later Armenian leadership said that Karabakh is an independent country, which was contradictory to the previous statement. But Minsk group did not react. They did not even condemn this statement. And of course, this kind of behavior only encouraged Armenia to strengthen their position on the table and to make occupation endless. That was a target of Armenia, and unfortunately, Minsk group helped them in that.
Thank you, President. Let's shift to the region, especially the problem between Europe and Russia. It's not your business, but Azerbaijan could help Europe because European Union fears that a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine could create tensions so high that some project would be delayed, or even that Russia could use the natural gas as a weapon. European Union is desperately looking to diversify its supplying routes. And as a matter of fact, the South Corridor appears to be one of the most interesting channels in the future. You have a lot of gas. With your interesting program to implement the green energies, you will have even more gas to export. You have a line, you can even double the line, and which finish with the TAP, but you can also from Greece go to the Balkans. So, should European Union ask you to help and provide more natural gas, you will be ready to satisfy this request as soon as you can?
Well, of course, our gas strategy was very clear and open, and for many years we did a lot in Azerbaijan and working with the partners in order to build this important project, which is considered to be one of the biggest infrastructure projects in 21st century. The Southern Gas Corridor, 3,500 kilometers from Baku to Italy, going under Adriatic Sea, going through the high mountains. It's a very complicated project from technical point of view, and of course very costly. And Azerbaijan, I would say, took the main financial burden in all the 4 segments of the Southern Gas Corridor. And prior to the completion, or the full completion of the project, last December, we already signed contracts with consumers. And our gas was contracted. And during this so-called gas crisis, with the price, problem with the price, our consumers did not feel any changes. If we talk about our future plans, of course, there is a possibility to increase the output and to increase the exports, but that will depend, of course, on the demand from European consumers. European Commission was assisting us in that process. We regularly convene in Baku the Advisory Council of the Southern Gas Corridor, which is chaired by representatives of European Union and Azerbaijan. And the next session will take place next February, where we address all the issues and plan our future steps. It's a big group of companies, banks, and countries. Now the team is growing because we became already suppliers to Europe. Starting from 1st January, we supplied 7.2 billion cubic meters of gas to Italy, Greece, and Bulgaria. Next year it will be 9. 2023 it will be at least 11. So it's serious increase. But in order to increase the production, we need, of course, to invest. And in order to do that, we need to have contracts with consumers. So the contracts first, investment second, and gas third. This is the stages of the process. But we are ready, as you said, we have huge deposits, brand new modern infrastructure with potential interconnectors to other destinations in Europe. You mentioned Balkans, and also I would add Central Europe. And that will be diversification of supplies for us and diversification for consumers.
Yes, and let's suppose that everything is going in the right direction and you will increase by far the production and the export toward Europe. Don't you fear the reaction of Russia? Because Russia is a very important economic partner of yours, is also a massive power in the region, and it's a dead of fact that it exports much more gas than yours, but it could be a symbolic move. Don't you fear the reaction of Russia?
No, not at all. First of all, this issue have never been discussed on the high level between leaders of the countries. All our energy projects, starting from oil pipeline to gas pipeline, were completed in a very friendly environment in the region. This is first thing. And second, Russia fully respects our policy, our foreign policy, our energy policy, and we are not rivals. And as I said many times, this issue is sometimes artificially exaggerated. We are in no way competitors to Russia because Russia is supplying hundreds of billions of cubic meters to Europe, and demand for Russian gas is growing. Azerbaijan just started, and as I said, our supply to Europe will be 11 billion in 2023, and it can stay like that if we don't have new contracts and if we don't invest in new production. Therefore, in no way this could play any negative role in our relations with Russia, which are very positive and well balanced.
Let's move on the economy. Your country suffers from a certain dependence of energy export, oil and natural gas, essentially. Now, the process of economic diversification, I think, is a priority for you today. Up to now, this process appears to be very slow, to be honest. But how do you intend to accelerate and implement it? What are you aiming for to carry it forward?
With respect to the structure of our economy, I think we managed already significantly to reduce the volume of oil and gas in our GDP, which many years ago was absolute majority and now is less than half. So the structure of Azerbaijan's economy became more balanced. But with respect to our exports, of course, more than 90% of our export is oil, natural gas, oil products, and electric energy. For the country, it is an advantage because we managed to enter the markets. We are exporting now oil, natural gas, electric energy, petrochemicals, and oil products, which brings a lot of cash flow to our economy. And the more gas we export, and the growing numbers of gas is obvious, the less is ratio in our export of non-oil products. For gas and oil, we don't need to look for markets. Oil is on the world market, gas already has markets, But for our other products, like agricultural products, we are limited with regional markets. And it's very difficult to enter European market because European market itself is competing the countries between themselves. So our main exports are Turkey, Russia, and some other countries. I would say that this year was very remarkable from that point of view. Our export of non-energy projects grew 45%, and our non-energy related industry grew 20%. So it's really a remarkable result. Still, in the volume of exports, the ratio of non-oil segment is low, but I think it will grow, especially taking into account the new opportunities on the liberated territories and with huge potential of agriculture, tourism, renewable energy, and industry. So we plan reduce dependence on oil and gas in the future. But at the same time, we should understand that oil and gas will play an important role for our economy for many decades ahead.
Yes, but let's move to Italy, because Italy is very interested in Azerbaijan. Italy was Azerbaijan's first trading partner. Rome and Baku have got very good relations. In addition to natural gas, Azerbaijan is also a leading supplier, as I told you, of oil. Are there opportunities for Italian companies in the process of Azeri diversifying the economy? For instance, in the you told that maybe you intend to rebuild the liberated areas, so there are a lot of things, projects to do, even on green resources.
Definitely. Italy is one of our closest partners, not only on the European continent, but globally. Our relations, I think, now on the very high level. And the indicator to that is the fact that we signed a document on strategic partnership. Italy is one of the 9 member states of EU with whom Azerbaijan signed a strategic partnership document. And there have been high-level visits of the presidents and other officials. And as you said, Italy for us is the main trading partner. And now, after the Trans-Adriatic pipeline is in operation, Azerbaijan become an important supplier to Italy, and the volume of Azerbaijani gas in Italian consumption will grow year after year. At the same time, as a friendly country, Italy was among the first countries which we invited to work on liberated territories. The first was Turkey, the second was Italy. And I can tell you that now there are a lot of projects which Italian companies are implementing there. We invited Italian architects to renovate our historical monuments and mosques in Shusha. And this is a very symbolic gesture because Shusha is a sacred place for us. It's a cultural capital of Azerbaijan. And the religious site is a sacred for everyone. So it's a very high level of trust. And just recently, when I was visiting Shusha, I met Italian representatives who demonstrated me how they're planning to continue. Italian company is now in an active process of the construction of the Victory Museum in Baku. It's another symbolic gesture because you can imagine this historical victory means a lot to us. And we invited Italian company deliberately to demonstrate our partnership and knowing the high level of performance, high level of taste, and friendly relations between us. And I can name you many other construction projects in liberated territories and in the other parts of Azerbaijan where Italian companies are very active. I can tell you that during the visit of President Mattarella to Azerbaijan, we together inaugurated the petrochemical plant which was built by Italian companies. And now the same company is actively working on reconstruction of our refinery. It's a multi-billion project. It's industry, petrochemicals, construction, architecture, renovation, so the broad range of issues. So once again, this is a demonstration of our friendship and our partnership.
Thank you. May I allow myself for a last question?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, because about it was interesting the economic issue in Azerbaijan because it's a developed country. So Azerbaijan occupies a strategic, very important strategic position in the world, in the Asia, and it could become not only an energy hub, but also a sort of a commercial hub, a transportation hub between West and East, from China to Europe. Apart. This could be also a way of diversifying the economy, provide there is stability in a region. And then at the same time, it could be helpful for stabilize and reach peace. Can you just tell me something? What do you think?
I fully agree with your assessment, and this is actually what we are doing in Azerbaijan for the last, at least actively doing for the last decade, transforming Azerbaijan into Eurasia's transportation hub. It's not an easy task because we do not have access to open seas. We need to have good relations, first of all, with our neighbors, because without having these relations, no country can become a transit country. Therefore, good regional cooperation environment plus investments in transportation infrastructure created this opportunity. But it was not easy because we had to invest a lot. And today, for instance, in Azerbaijan, we have 6 international airports and 3 international airports on the liberated territories. 1 already inaugurated, 2 more to come. We have a diversified railroad system which connects us to all the neighbors. We have modern highways, and by the way, Davos Forum ranked Azerbaijan number 27 with respect to the quality of the roads, and number 11 and 12 with respect to air services and railroad services. So this already is happening. We already became a transitor for goods from Central Asia. China also is transporting its goods to European destination. Plus, another advantage is Azerbaijan is situated on the north-south transportation corridor, which goes from Northern Europe, Russia, Azerbaijan, Iran, and further down to Persian Gulf. And all the construction work, whether it's railroad or highway, on Azerbaijani segment of the north-south have been already completed. And of course, after the Second Karabakh War, there are opportunity to open a new corridor, which is already called everywhere as Zangezur corridor, which goes from Azerbaijan to Armenia, and then to Azerbaijan's Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic, further down to Turkey and Europe, which will be an alternative route for transportation. Plus, we are actively working on creation of the free zone close to Baku in the Alat district, which will be in operation next year. And we hope that this geographic location, already diversified transportation network, will help us to attract investors who would prefer to work there. So transportation sector will become one of the leading after energy sector. And investment in this component, of course, brings a lot of benefits. Plus, I would add the inauguration of the biggest on the Caspian Shore trade seaport, which capacity can go up to 25 million tons, and construction of the shipyard. We already supply ourselves with all kinds of cargoes, tankers, and ferry boats. So this is really a big asset. Plus, as you mentioned, stability in Azerbaijan, reliability, because we never disrupt any contract and violate even a word in any contract, so our partners trust us, and good relations with all our neighbors. Plus, we hope that relations with Armenia also will be normalized, as we discussed yesterday with Prime Minister Pashinyan and President Michel, and then Armenia also will have a chance to become part of the regional transportation network, because now it's deadlocked. It doesn't have railroad connection with Russia, it will have. It doesn't have connection with Iran railroad, it will have through Azerbaijan. And Azerbaijan, through Armenia will go to its autonomous republic, Nakhchivan. It's a win-win situation. I think understanding of this golden opportunity is really must come in Armenia so that they behave in a more, to say, active way and do not hesitate to engage with us in these future plans.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you.